You're not, what modification can I make to make this? Because think about it, freely chose, right? Because what if I say, well, I don't want to marry you, but my mother wants me to marry you. Let's get married. Who in our culture do we think picks the marriage partner? No. Well, who picks? Do you pick or do your parents pick? Okay, one day y'all might meet someone who's nifty. Do you get to choose if you marry them, or does your parents pick this person? Not do you get their input, but who picks them?
I pick them, but my parents have to approve.
So they might approve, right? So we can have a modification here, but it's not they go, hey, here's this guy right here, yes or no, right? Is that what we do in our culture? Like, hey, here's someone from work. Yes, no. But, other cultures do that. There's nothing wrong with that strategy. We have just adopted in our strategy that everyone picks themselves. So I'm going to move on. Let's show you. If you haven't think of modifications to make this stronger, that'd be great. Because I got some more that you're not going to like less. Furthermore, we think that people should treat their partner as an equal in a relationship, that it should be somewhere near the center of their emotional world. What? Oh yeah, I guess we can. In the interest of time, I'm going to move on. But so, anyone want to quibble? Should your partner be an equal? Is that our cultural belief now? Right? So if I said I want to marry you, but you are distinctly going to be second class. You're nifty, don't get me wrong. I respect nifty, don't. But we don't. And finally, both partners should be sexually faithful. No?
No, I don't think that's the cultural norm anymore. Oh, I don't know. Maybe
I think that's the cultural what we assume
to be
In
normal.
a sustained
So you don't think that in marriages that this is still the cultural norm?
No. Well, okay, from what I know, like the marriages that I know, no.
They're okay with people sleeping?
Yes.
People just ain't
They have what they call open
I know,
marriages.
there's a concept of open marriage.
Swingers, yeah.
Okay, but one way to see the cultural norm is,
I don't know.
I will say swingers are a distinct minority in our culture.
Well, I know, but
Open marriage is also a distinct minority in our culture. Now your population, which is fine, but one way to see the cultural norm is what gets a label. So when I notice that I don't say we're going to have a faithful marriage, I have to say we're going to have an open marriage, right? I have to indicate that this is going to be the exception. I have to put a qualifier. That sort of lets you know what thing doesn't have the qualifier, right? So the way to get at it in our culture, what doesn't have the qualifier is, Now we can set up. There are many ways to set this up. I just think this captures something for our culture, right? So let's just vote on the overall. If y'all like this overall, there's A to D. I don't get C. I don't get a 5 anymore. So because I have a point with all of this. Apparently not. Yeah. So. Okay, so I'm gonna hope this. 3, 2, 1. Since we need to move forward. All right. If there are a couple people who don't like this, which is good, which is fine. But if you want to tell me how to make this more accurate, I'm going to tell you this actually comes out of the research. But if it's wrong, it's wrong. Here's what's going to be the cool part, though. Whether you like it or dislike it, there's not an idea there that our ancestors would agree with. Every single aspect of that is new. So if you don't like it, so you don't. This is all new. It is all new. And one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to use marriage as a way of showing how our relations among the sexes have changed. So to give you just one example, our culture wants people to freely choose their partner and be in love with them. In love has not been a universal. Now, at no time in history have people made it indiscriminately. There's never been an orgy period of human history. That's never existed. There's never been, it wasn't like the Pleistocene, the Stone Age, the Orgy Age. That never happened. People have always had preferences. People have always been like, this person and I get along, this person and I don't, this person and I feel some like butterflies, this person and I don't. But most cultures thought butterflies didn't last that long. Like, think about it, right? How long do butterflies last?
A week.
Well, people have actually researched a week. Oh. Well, other people get 200 times longer. Other people get 100 times longer. For a lot of people, butterflies end up lasting about 2 years. Research suggests that 2 years is the cultural norm. It's sad. You need butterflies for longer than a week.
I just lose interest. That new wears off.
In 7 days? No, that's fine.
I'm being a little harsh.
Yeah, okay.
Makes no points. Okay.
3 months on average with dating, and maybe a year into marriage.
Okay, research as much as we have has suggested 2 years.
And that's before dating or after marriage?
These are people who, the way they acquired these people was, mostly college samples, and they're like, well, how long have you been dating this person? How do you feel? Blah, blah. And then they tracked the relationships over time, and went, after 2 years, they're like, I don't feel butterflies anymore. They're nifty, but and then niftiness might prevail. But think about it. I can't say, you're nifty, let's get married. But then we shouldn't lie, right? Okay, so what mostly happened, our ancestors knew that people had preferences. This isn't a discovery. What our ancestors thought, though, was that marriage was too important for the families to be left to the individual people. They're like, okay, your emotions are going to change, right? It's like you're saying, wait, I might fall in love with you because of all these traits. That's what that is historically and cross-culturally much more common. Whether it's arranged or in something like that. Now, arranged is going to include whether we give them the right of refusal or not. So there's many ways to do arranged marriages. But if you think about it, our cultural view is completely opposite of this. We expect butterflies.
When you say view, how relatively?
In this 1700s is about this shit. In my world, that's new. When I think 1700s, I think, prior, we have thousands of years prior to that where people have done other things. So it's about 1700s. There's a wonderful book called Marriage, a History by Stephanie Kuntz. And that's where a lot of this is going to come from. Historically, marriage had very, very little to do with the emotional needs of the people. In fact, most of the time it was thought that you get your emotional needs met from your family or your friends, and your spouse was just there for some other reason. It was really about the family. So it was, well, you may get the right of refusal, but I'm picking the dude or the girl. Wow. Right off the bat. In fact, even in the world today, over half of marriages are arranged marriages. That strikes us as weird because we what? So let's see how well you are doing so far with this class. How do you think the people in arranged marriages feel about arranged marriages? So one argument is they feel like they're normal, right? They feel like we feel about ours. So one answer is that arranged marriages are normal. What might someone else think?
It's trapped.
They might feel trapped, like, oh, I have to marry whoever my parents pick. And if only I got to choose myself. What might be another way people think about it?
That they're the way marriages should be, that other cultures should adopt this.
Yeah. That might go in with this one, right? So
I think it's a little different, actually.
it's okay.
It's more aggressive.
Well, I think it's different to say, okay, this is normal in our culture, and to say, hey, this is the way that things definitely should be.
Okay, that's totally, okay, I see what you're saying now. So a little more aggressive, a little more biting, like, this isn't just what we do, this is the way marriage should be. So, it should be. So this is a stronger form of this. So in these cultures, if they were having debates about marriage and good old marriage, I can't wait to get back to marriage the way it used to be, they would include in theirs where the parents pick the partner, right? All right. Well, that's enough to vote. Which one do y'all think the people in these cultures feel? So, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I mean, y'all are hitting the two most likely answers. It's definitely going to be either A or C. I mean, there are people who feel trapped. That happens. There are people who go, my father has these goals and he's going to do this, and I feel trapped, like I can't resist. But they feel trapped within a system that they think is probably the right system, right? I mean, like,
Because it's simply not being married to one reason, they still feel trapped in the
yeah, we can still feel trapped in ours. Or there's certainly been times where I'm like, I have made a lot of crappy relationship decisions. If somebody could pick, for me, they might do better, because I very often get distracted by other traits. I'll just be delicate and say they're not always the personality traits. Right? We have arranged marriages in our cultural history. We have them throughout the Jewish scriptures. So if you remember in this particular example in the Jewish scriptures, Eliezer has to go pick a spouse, and what he does, he goes back to Abraham's hometown, and he basically has a lot of camels and a lot of wealth, and he says, hey, I'll give you wealth if you'll give me your daughter. And they're like, just take her. My Hebrew is rough, but that's kind of how the story goes. She does agree to it as well, for what it is worth. But it was basically like, I've never seen this man, but this would be a good match for my family. We see this in many, many cultures. Cultural preference for being in love. So like, would you marry someone if you were not in love with them? Our culture is definitely moving towards an in-love culture. Right? You've got to be in love. They can't be nifty. I don't know why I'm stuck on nifty, but it's the word. It's like I'm from like the 60s today. You're swell. Right? This is not a universal though. Other cultures perfectly content to marry if they're not in love. It's sort of weird to go, why have we put so much stock on this in-loveness? It's a very romantic view of marriage. But there are some data to suggest that might not be the best thing to base marriage on. What's a good piece of data in that regard?
Divorce rate?
Divorce rates. Maybe that's not. I don't know. That's far outside the scope of this course. But if you go across cultures and you see what they base marriage on, you see that our system, where the individual selects, it's fairly rare. This would be more like, I guess, your system, where you want their approval to some deep sense. But what's interesting is when you look at these numbers like that you find that it's more female. So, it's interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. First day on how cultures arrange the sexes. I will see y'all Wednesday.